Radio. It's 8 o'clock. Good morning to you once again, and welcome to the headline news analysis. And that's where we review some of the big stories that were brought to you at 7 o'clock. My name is Adeyemi.
And I'm Danielle Shitta-Bey. Thank you for joining us.
And don't forget, you can always be part of the headline news review anytime and during the point of the show by calling 0807 777 9927. And please, when you call and you get through or you connect through, please remember that you have a space of 1 minute to pass your comment, and make sure that whatever it is that you bring on the headline news review is verifiable and of course some devoid of false information, because so we like to give it facts and share nothing but the facts right here on the headline news review. And also, let's state that positions taken on any of the stories soon to be talked about is not in any way the position of Flow FM 92.7 or any of the staff therein, but solely as expressed by the analyst Nicholas Onwaronoye. He joins us this morning. Good morning to you, Nicholas.
Good morning.
You seem pretty cold, are you?
Oh, it's been, the last couple of days, God is somehow increasing the temperature. What kind of, wow.
And the studio is not even helping matters anyways.
No, but it's okay.
It's okay for you, right?
Well, it's okay. Yeah.
All right, we'll make it a little bit more, comfortable for you.
I'm not that old.
But you're getting.
Yeah, I am.
By the day.
Oh, come on.
Let's get right into our conversation this morning.
All right, before we get into the conversation, the first one we'll be picking one of the news stories to talk about. Remember that we're streaming live right now on Facebook and on YouTube, and it's on Facebook at Flow FM NG and on YouTube at Flow FM 927. You can go on any of these apps and just search for Flow FM 927 and you'll be able to get in on the live action in the studio right now. Now, going into the story that we have, let's talk about inflation. So now Nigeria's inflation rate has increased to 34.60% from 33.88% in October. That's indicating what's in hardship for Nigerians actually. Now, inflation basically is the increase in the price of goods and services in an economy, and one of the reasons is the demand pull. When demand for goods and services increases, producers, increase prices to maximize profits. And we're talking about, chicken yesterday.
Yeah.
And how, there's a lot of demand for chicken in this period, right? And, well, is that the reason why, the inflation is at an all-time high?
Well, there are so many factors that contribute to inflationary rise, especially in an economy like Nigeria. Number one, you have what you call the food inflation. When the amount of money chasing few goods, when you have it, especially in the area of commodity items like rice, yam, and the rest of them, then it's going to have a ripple effect on virtually all sectors. So that is what we are seeing. And of course, it's going to happen when you have problem with food sovereignty in your country. Don't forget, we are just moving away from the insurgencies, you witness in all these food hubs like Benue, Kebbi, all those places where you have a lot of farming activities going on. So the killings displace a lot of farmers. And I on this program, I did mention a particular instance of a place called Foko in Ilorin, where you now have upsurge of people from Niger State, Kebbi and all those activities coming in to farm there because there is relative peace there. So this displacement is what you are seeing. That is the explanation of that figure that we are seeing right now. And let's just hope things improves. I don't know what next year might bring, but hopefully with what the military appears to be doing in the area of fighting insurgency, we might have a bit of sedentary farming, where people move back to their land, farm, and then maybe we might be able to reduce the inflation that we're having right now. Let's just hope so, really. Then, if I may add too, sometimes when you have things like that, what the CBN does is to try to control the inflation, and what they do is they increase, the lending rate, or ask the banks, to keep, raise the ratio of deposit in banks. So you equally have things like that too.
Okay. Well, is that like an alternative? We're talking about, poultry farming yesterday, and because of how the increased demand is in this period, would there be an alternative for Nigerians at this point?
There is something that is very peculiar about our consumption culture in Nigeria.
Okay.
I noticed that we are not that flexible. We are not flexible in our choice of, opening up, alternatives. Say, for instance, soya beans. It's a perfect, protein supplement, but people have not exploited it to its full
extent.
Yeah, exactly. Like I have known this soybeans cheese locally called Beske. I've known it for close to 20 years, but I don't know why it hasn't been exploited. It's only recently when they have no alternative that we are moving in. And when you move in, that massive invasion into getting soybean is going to raise the prices of it's going to. So that is what you are seeing. So, but if in the last 20 years, when each time we have a recession, you bring an alternative, what do we do to develop it? A very good example is this Irish potato. Do you know how Irish potato came to be very popular? It was because of a famine that happened, I think it was in the 18th century or so. So it became so popular that it became a major staple. You understand? So, I don't know why we are not flexible in Africa. I don't know whether this is about Nigeria. We are not flexible. Okay, don't forget that at some point, we used to have, under the previous administration of Goodluck Jonathan, there is this cassava policy. 10% of every flour that you put into confectionaries must be cassava. After the man left, what happened? We went back. So now they are now trying to introduce it as a law in the National Assembly to make it compulsory that for every flour that you use for confectionaries, bread, cake, and there must be cassava or corn.
10% of cassava
and corn, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I think that is what they are doing. So, it doesn't have to be the law. You see, if we have discovered a local alternative to something, I don't know why we don't tend to develop it.
But again, I'm sorry, on a lighter note, do you think most Nigerian homes or families will want to see the soybean, cheese as an alternative, where, Christmas is tagged with rice and chicken and not rice and cheese?
Well, the alternative is to starve. That is it. But because honestly, if you ask me, it's more nutritious. It is, compared to the other, animal derivative. If you ask the nutrition, they will tell you that it's far, far, far better.
All right.
Yeah.
Away from that and still on the inflation thing, well, Nigeria is not the only country experiencing inflation. Ghana just went all-time high to about 22.1% last month in November. And I've given some of the reasons that may cause inflation, according to you, said security, power situations, all of these things could cause weather. Weather situations could also cause inflations on the low. But again, in comparison to Ghana, do we have the level of insecurity that Nigeria is experiencing in Ghana, and then how come they're experiencing an all-time high, in the inflation rate as well as to other countries?
Well, don't forget, you did say it's 22%. Ours is 34%.
Yeah,
which is way higher. And maybe the insurgency and all those things, they are not experiencing. Maybe that's why they have 22%. You understand? Then secondly, you're quite right. It's a global thing. All this globalization and things like that, they need to dig deep. This nationality, globally, nations are more territorial these days. They talk about digging in and not bringing in resources from other countries. That could be one of the reasons why you're having a spiraling effect. And of course, the issue of fuel is a global thing. Right. You understand? So don't forget that Ghana is not separate from Nigeria. It's not separate from Nigeria in terms of global economy.
Oh yes.
So definitely you are going to have all this issue of fuel, issue of power, and all those things. It's a global thing. Everybody. Then of course, let's not forget that the Ukraine-Russia war is still on. And the prediction when that thing started was that it's going to have an effect on global economy. We are talking of grain export, for instance, that comes from Ukraine. You are going to have a shortfall of
wheat,
that.
and I think of wheat as well, too.
Wheat as well, too. Then don't forget that, Ukraine used to be, Ukraine, Spain are large suppliers of gas. Russia is a large supplier of gas. With the kind of, reduction of gas into Europe, as a weapon by Russia, definitely are going to look for alternative. So that's where you saw France, being squeezed, and they wanted to squeeze the African former colonies in return, and resulted in the backlash they are now facing. And they are looking elsewhere. So all those things, all those glitches, are bound to have effect on less developed economies in Africa. It's a certainty.
So to a layman now who walks the streets of Nigeria, do you think that if you have to explain what inflation means to him, it's not about a sitting president?
Well, a sitting president has a role to play. a sitting president has the prerogative of deciding how to look for local alternatives that will just, how do you exploit your local alternative to shield you from the effect of, the economic, the economic backlashes that we're talking about. Don't forget, the sitting president was the one that went on air and said, subsidy as good as gone. It is going to, the pronouncement of, a president has an effect on the economy. Then you follow it with policies that tend to devalue the naira. Those are policies. They are good policies on its own, but the timing did affect the economy. Then, of course, we are not talking of the issue of, is it tax? Raising of, the tariff for, power. All those things are within the purview of, the president. Then, of course, the withdrawal of subsidy. So definitely, it's not. You cannot remove the role of the incumbent president, the president of the country, from the reasons why we have the inflationary trend in the country. You can't. No.
Don't forget, you can join the conversation at any point on the show 0807 777 9927 to pass comments or take a position on any of these stories to be discussed. As we've discussed, one, inflation and custom, the sudden rise in the price of chicken. Can I ask you real quick before we move on to another story? Is it looking like a bleak Christmas for many Nigerian families right now?
From this standpoint, it looks that way. But you see, there is something about Nigeria. It's one of those things that makes me love this country. Do you know within 1 week you can have a complete turnover of, it has happened before. You understand? At one moment you think it's going to be bleak Christmas, then you just see an alternative from nowhere. You might just, maybe when I leave this place, I get to post office and challenge and see a soft use of different kinds of chicken alternatives. Like you have the layers, the old layers, for instance, all over the places. So you start asking yourself, how did Nigerians dig deep, to bring about this alternative? Then before you know what's happening, the whole, there is a kind of, reduction in the price of this thing, food items. Now, when we talk about rice, that equally says things about our unwillingness to change to local alternatives. We have local rice,
Oh, yes, we do.
When I was in Anambra, do you know that all the rice I ate there were local rice? Local rice are very delicious.
Why do people run away from local rice?
Well, yeah, the little bit of economics I know in school, they have these ostentatious goods, it's a kind of an exceptional rule to demand and supply thing. That's that curve. If you remember that curve, that, it tells you that, no matter how high the price of certain goods, they are still very much in demand. It doesn't respect the rule of demand. The higher the price, the lower So that is the thing. Maybe it's about taste. Maybe it's more economical. You don't have to destone. You don't have to wash several times. So
could it also be a over dependence on foreign, goods and all?
Oh, that is part of it. It's the cultural thing that we are talking about. We get, enculturated into preferring some of this, foreign things. That's like a status symbol. Kind of a thing. It wasn't like when you serve a visitor local rice that looks all mushy and all those things, then compared to the grainy ones that, those are some of the things that, that makes us don't want to be taken off that preferred, choice of, food items that we put on our tables.
Now, still on that, I'm sorry, because again, Nigerians at this point will be left with a choice to, because we're raising the conversation, and Nigerians will be left with either to make a choice for the foreign or for the local. A lot of people at some point accepted the local, rice at the point I remember. And again, a lot of Nigerians also complain about the quality. Is that not a major reason why Nigerians run away from locally produced, items?
You're right, really. But you see, let me make one other. I should have said this too. Do you know that there is a huge demand for Nigerian local rice outside Nigeria? Yeah, huge, massive. And I'll tell you the reason why. Sometimes in the early years of Buhari's administration, I think it was around 2016, there was this excursion I went on. Well, it's an investigative reporting thing. I had to travel the route of Niger State to, I think I got to Gombe. There is a massive rice movement, local rice movement, all the way to Algeria. They prefer Nigerian local rice to the Thai rice. And the reason is very simple. It's about a responsible government taking care of what their people eat. Now, their thinking is that, you see, all this Thai rice, they've been in the silos for very long, 5 years, 20 years even, and they sell it out to you. You know, when they have enough for their local business, they sell out the old ones to you. So they are they know that Nigerian local rice is just seasonal. We are rain-fed largely. Rain-fed, agriculture. That's what we practice mostly in Nigeria. Fewer irrigational, thing. It's not an all year round thing. So they know it is seasonal. So they know at the very least, at the very most, it's just about 1 or 2 years. So that is fresher for them. That is healthier for them. You understand? So that is the reason why Nigerian local rice became, it was a source of, it was very big, for most farmers. So the next thing you see a lot of trailer loads of Nigerian rice going through the border out, towards the north, outside to Nigeria, as far as Algeria, from what so some of the economic intelligence I got. So when you see that, that is one other reason, why it appears as if Nigeria are not going for that. You see at that point, you hardly see a difference more difference in pricing with Nigerian local rice and the foreign rice. You understand? So that is on the one hand. Let's not forget that. Now, the question you asked as to is it not because of all these things? It could be a factor. Yes, it is a factor, but it is not strong enough, to not to make it an alternative. I can tell you right now, if you have a surplus of Nigerian rice, people are going to rush it. But it's still not enough. It's still not enough. Yeah.
Okay. Well, for the ordinary Nigerian, let's hope that turnaround you talked about, happens. Let's hold on to that hope.
We hope so.
Let's hold on to that hope.
And I can also say that maybe that the old layers can just flood the market so that some Nigerian families don't go for the soya beans.
Sorry, that local thing. What of this? Is it guinea fowl?
Yes.
Do you know it's a beautiful? That's another beautiful.
But it's equally expensive, isn't it?
It's expensive because people don't go into it. You don't have much of it.
Because again, if it's just basic economics, if the demand on chicken is that high now, and there's an alternative, and the Nigerians are moving towards guinea fowl,
it would also increase.
The price will increase.
You see, but we are not used to growing guinea fowl. They grow guinea fowl. They grow pangba. Duck.
Okay.
They grow it for peculiar delicacies. You understand? It's not, but I don't know why we are like this. I mean, our food culture is kind of strange. It defies a lot of economic, that I have, come across. But it's one of those things, that's why we are humans,
All right, well, let's move away from that and onto this conversation about the 2025 budget. Well, the federal government on Monday approved the 2025 budget proposal, right? Now, what should we have? What should we expect in the 2025 budget that is set to be ready by Wednesday?
One of those things that I expect the president to do is to move in a lot of capital into social securities, social investment. That is what I think the president should do, because there is a need, because the prediction right now for next year is very bleak, so what the government needs to do is to see if it can grow the small and medium scale enterprises, pull in more money, not just relying on banks to give loans, because banks will not give loans. They won't give loans for businesses. The only loans they can give is short-term loan. And for medium scale, you need something that you have to give them a lot of leeway, especially with the promise of the tax bill coming on board. Don't forget some of the provisions that you have there, that if you are 25 million, you are exempted from tax and all those things. So there must be a lot of social investment, to cushion some of these businesses. Those are some of the things that I'm expecting. Then, of course, it must take into cognizance that inflationary trends tend to wipe out the gains of subsidy removal. Federal government have more nairas, more money to spend now, but the inflationary trend is taking, the differences, is killing the differences. We are not feeling it. About a year ago, if I have 100,000 naira on my hand, for a while I'll be happy. But 100,000 naira now, it's not. By the time you buy one bag of rice, it's all over. You get a point.
Again, I like the fact where you talk about the capital into social interventions and all of these things. Well, we give so much reliance on the federal government. This is a budget of 47.96 trillion naira. That's a huge national budget. And some will still say, well, it's not big enough.
It's not
too big enough. It's not big enough for the country. It cannot cater, to the needs of the Nigerian people. But again, just yesterday, the presidency was making a statement to state governors that, well, allocation to state government has increased a little bit. Now, what should be the synergy, the collaborative effort of state governors to the presidency with this budget that we're looking at, this proposed budget?
Honestly, that is another issue that you've just raised.
All right, Nicholas, please hold on your thoughts a little bit. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Welcome to the Headline News Analysis. What's your name, please, and where you're calling from?
My name is Dami. I'm from Ilorin.
All right, Dami, you're calling from Ilorin. So which of the stories catching your attention and you want to react to this morning real quick?
Huh?
Which of the stories is catching your attention this morning that you want to pass comment on? Okay, please try and connect back to us. This is the Headline News Review, and that's where we handpick a few of the trending national headlines that have much concern to Nigerians, and we, analyze them, put a light on them, and because give Nigerians a chance to also react to how they feel as to some of these stories that we are talking about this morning. Nicholas Oworonor is joining us. Please continue the line of thoughts.
Yeah, you see, this is where we need the state government to back the presidency, the president, and the federal government in the areas of social, social investment
programs.
Well, fortunately for Kwara, I will give Kwara a pass mark. Because in fact, some of its programs, some of its social intervention programs have been, copied at the federal level. Like the QASIP thing and things like that. They are copying suit. They are watching it and they are copying suit from it. I know that for a fact. Then aside from that, one state can only do so much. But if we have a concerted, I would have preferred a situation where it is synergized across the states, where you have a complete, framework for supporting federal government, so that what you have in Kwara, you also have in Kebbi, you also have in. So it will now allow for people to stay wherever they are and enjoy the benefit of both state and federal. It's a Herculean task, no doubt, because we are talking of absence of data, absence of data that can help in synergizing some of these, these benefits to the average Nigerian. So that is, for me, that is the first step that needs to be taken.
All right. We'll drop the conversation there, but I'm sure we'll pick it up because, it's the budget we're talking about. And there'll be a whole lot of, time to discuss the national budgets. Let's move on to another story this time.
All right, so let's look in the world of sports for a quick minute before we round off on the
that was a new
analysis. Yeah, so Lookman wins CAF Player of the Year award, and that would be this is after Victor Osimhen's victory last year, and Nigeria has been on a streak. It's been an impressive record so far.
11 times.
11 times, actually. So what are the gains for Nigeria's economy and international diplomacy?
Now, you see, that will be the first time we're winning back-to-back. Nigeria won it last year, won it again this year. Osimhen and Lookman. You see, for me, if I wish our sports economy is more developed than it is right now, because this is very huge, potentially huge, especially in the area of sport branding and marketing. Now, you know that, do you know that for most European countries, their top stars like Ronaldo and the rest of them have, what's it called? They have a diplomatic passport. You understand? So why is that so? It's because that sport opened a lot of doors for them. And then what it equally says about Nigerian players, it's advertising Nigerian players so much. But there is a bit of a drawback that I'm concerned about. This Lookman success is an advertisement from most Nigerians not born in the country to want to play for Nigeria. So the question is, where does he leave the local talent? You understand? Because he was born abroad. He at some point played for the British, the England junior national team before switching over to Nigeria. So you are going to have more of, and if you look at it, you see a lot of Nigerians born abroad wanting to play for Nigeria. So don't forget that these people are better trained. They've been exposed to fantastic facilities. You understand? So, but compared to their counterparts in Nigeria here, their compatriots in Nigeria here, you have something like not at par with what they have there. So my question is, where I'm a bit worried is, how do we bridge the gap? So that at the end of the day, it's not a case of having the Iwobis, the Lookman, all these other ones that are always, they are the ones that get called up in the national team. You got to play for a national team before you win a CAF award.
Yeah,
Don't forget, it's not all the time you have a case of George Oponwea, who, throughout the time he played, Liberia was in a civil war, but he won both African and world best player, on a row, on a stretch. You don't have that kind of a thing happening. So that is one other, drawback that we might consider. But all in all, I think it's a fantastic advertisement of how good Nigerian footballers are. Maybe not about our football, but definitely it puts Nigeria firmly in the map of continental football soccer giants.
Well, let's not just base it on football now. Let's talk about sports in general. What is the level of development that we're experiencing in Nigeria when it comes to the sports industry? Because over time, I remember we've had, enthusiastic, sports ministers who are at the point of, assuming office, make promises here and there. And then you get to find out that they're more at the time of their, tenure ending, they still complain about so many issues within the sports, industry. How do we, capitalize on this gain, as you're mentioning, that exposing Nigeria and then also exporting other sports that we have in the country? So was it 2-3 years back? I was in a conversation with Bolaji Abdullahi, former Minister of Sports, and he did say certain things about developing, areas where high performance centers for Nigeria. Because you see, they sat down and they did a study, of what it takes before that is to have a podium finish in the Olympics. When you have a podium finish, that is put you on the global scale. Then you are talking of sport marketing and repatriating, good dividends into your country. So they started, but they didn't follow up, because subsequent administration just jettisoned that idea. And that has always been our problem. The inability to develop sports infrastructure, put the proper people there. That has always been our problem in Nigeria. It's not the talents are there, abundant, but they are raw. You need to refine them. So, for instance, you have in Kwara State now, you have fantastic squash. And I learned that for the Olympic preparation in squash, they are coming to Kwara State. And that's where they're going to prepare. Now, how does the local economy of Kwara benefit from there? What I should be seeing right now is a lot of things being put in place, but I don't see them. You understand? The governor has done well in putting those structures, both table tennis and squash. Kwara State is king. Not only in Nigeria, I'm talking of West Africa and Africa. Has the potential to be very, very big. So, it's a very big thing. Maybe we don't have the time. I would have loved to go. Congratulations to Ademola Lookman, and he's an award well deserved for him, and of course, we hope that some more African Nigerian players will follow suit. Thank you, Nicholas Warrenoye, for coming on the program. And of course, some views expressed on some of these stories is not in any way the position of Flow FM, but are solely expressed by the analyst Nicholas Warrenoye. We're back tomorrow 8 o'clock to 8:30. I am Dayo Adeyemi.
And I'm Danielle Shitta-Bey. Thank you for joining us and sharing your wealth of knowledge.
It's Christmas time at Flower Garden, Ilorin, your ultimate